First and foremost is public acceptance. The Orange County Water District's groundwater recharge system is the only potable reuse project in California that has survived beyond the planning phase. And the reason was that the district mounted an early and accurate outreach information program. Literally hundreds and thousands of presentations were made to citizens, to public officials, to legislators that publicized the need for new reliable water supplies and pointed out how the advanced wastewater purification processes that would be employed in that worked. I cannot emphasize strongly enough the need for a program early, way in advance of such a project, is a prerequisite for successful reuse. Literally a dozen of these projects have failed to progress because the proposers were clumsy or failed to anticipate toilet-to-tap concerns that seem to be a part of every one of these proposals, and are, I might add, without scientific basis. A second caution is that the costs are likely to be relatively high, particularly if you're going to do direct injection. Membranes and other advanced treatment technologies have high capital costs and also high operating costs. Energy costs are also significant here. To the extent that there are opportunities for substituting water to treated to standards of for standards that are associated with less than potable use for irrigation water, the costs may be lower. Third, there needs to be sensible, intelligent regulatory and legal support for reuse. An effective regulatory environment is a requirement, but it has to be supportive of reuse if reuse is to occur. And one of the things that California did right was to get early legislation, early regulations, and early oversight of reuse so that it could march ahead. And again, the reason that it hasn't marched ahead as quickly as it should have is because of the failure of people to use science to garner public acceptance. Let me come now to my conclusions. Managing scarcity is not a mystery. We do it every day. We do it with food, we do it with housing, we do it with transportation, clothing, gasoline, and many other goods and services. So why should water be different? Over 100 years ago, Mark Twain reacted to the California water situation by observing that whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting over. And while this is mildly amusing to Californians who are used to constant water wars, I want to suggest to you that it is an artifact of our failure to acknowledge and manage scarcity in a reasoned and intelligent way. So my first conclusion then is to acknowledge that water is scarce, to confront that fact, and to figure out how to manage it intelligently. And my sense is that here in Okotoks, the community has gotten an excellent start on that task. Most importantly, don't make scarcity worse than it has to be by ignoring it. We have made the task of water management in California enormously more difficult by trying to pretend that water is not scarce. There is simply no reason to repeat this mistake. In devising schemes to manage scarcity, recognize that effective schemes will not be painless. Managing scarcity just is not going to be painless. There's going to be pain of some sort. Recognize also that there are no silver bullets and that the optimal way of managing water scarcity will almost surely require some mix of tactics. And the mix will need to be determined locally here to account for local conditions and to be consistent with whatever allocative criteria you want to emphasize to ensure that scarcity gets managed in the way that you want to do it. And as I say, use all of the weapons, institutional options, demand management options, and supply management options, but tailor those to your own local circumstances and your own local preferences, to advance the local welfare here as you define it. Thanks again for inviting me. It's been my pleasure to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much, Dr. Vaux. We're very fortunate to have you come out and inform our community on water resource management and how other communities have dealt with these issues. We'll now open up our question portion of the